How many of you had an apple today to keep the doctor away? All right. If you did, were you able to compost the core? If unsorted organic waste, such as biodegradables, greens, and food leftovers, ends up either incinerated, buried, or dumped into a landfill, where it produces methane, a powerful greenhouse gas. Waters contain up to 90% water. And as we all know, water is kind of hard to burn. So why burn apple cores? Over the past 2 centuries, the rapid evolution of globalized waste management has made us less resilient and has shaped our consumerist attitude towards our environment. What if changing our ways of seeing, producing, and managing waste could make us more resilient, healthier, and happier? What if the answer to the question how to stop wasting our lives began with reconsidering the very notion of waste? Waste means both garbage and prodigality, something that is carelessly discarded, no longer needed, or considered unworthy. But let's ask ourselves, unworthy according to whom? Waste is a profoundly subjective term, not unlike, say, home. Let's think about the connection between waste and home for a moment. In his book Homo Detritus, French sociologist Baptiste Mont-Saint-Jean explains how the idea of home was invented thanks to trash. At the end of the Paleolithic era, one of the ways in which we, Homo sapiens, distinguished ourselves from our predecessors was precisely via our attitude towards waste. Our predecessors used to sleep, eat, and socialize in caves. Following a festive dinner of juicy mammoth meat and leathery roots, they would fall asleep amid bones and leftovers. It was only when Homo sapiens decided to leave the bones and leftovers outside of the cave that the notion of home was born. Home was a place without trash, clearly distinct from the hostile or dirty outside world. Home was somewhere where trash was out of sight. Still, waste is a relatively recent concept. Up until the late 18th century, there was hardly any such thing as waste. Almost everything was reused, made to last for generations, or left to decay naturally. The Industrial Revolution changed the nature of our produce, the notion of waste, and our attitude towards it. From a valuable resource and a natural part of our cities, waste became a hazard, undesired and unsightly, and now monstrously long-lived too. Where an apple takes 2 months to decompose, a plastic apple toy takes as long as 450 years. This is how, with time, waste became so difficult to get rid of that it started accumulating. Relatively quickly, we got from natural sorting and nearly endless local recycling to landfills that spread over thousands of acres, thousands of kilometers away from home. How long do you think these individually wrapped bananas require? I thought that nature had come up with a brilliant way of wrapping bananas. Yet here, it looks like we'll be given an extra plastic bag to carry these home. Today, the world produces more than 2 billion tons of waste every year. That's 800,000 Olympic pools of waste. And only about 13% of this gigantic amount gets recycled. 100% recycling is a myth that justifies industry's continuing business as usual. By focusing on the user's behavior at the end of the chain, wait, did I put this in the right trash bin? Rather than on the industry's design choice at the onset of the chain, why does this item come with the package in the first place? We're effectively being forced to compensate for industry's lack of resilience. The more takeaway coffee we buy, the more the economy will grow, we're told. Throwing away our paper cup into the recycling bin is thus the equivalent of good housekeeping for modern-day Homo sapiens. Let's not forget, however, that the disposable cup that we use for less than an hour not only takes up to 20 years to decompose, but is also often coated with plastic, which makes recycling it very difficult, if not impossible. recycling requires tons of energy, isn't always possible, and is hardly a resilient solution to the world's ever-growing pile of trash. But what is resilience, you may ask? According to the Oxford English Dictionary, resilience is the ability to recover quickly and to return to one's original shape. Not, in other words, to grow 5% per year to ensure profitable return for shareholders, but to maintain one's integrity. There is one word that beautifully conveys this phenomenon, and that is circularity. Where recycling gives us a false promise of resilience, composting offers us the real thing, a way of sustainably transforming waste. Composting comes from the Latin word composite, something put together, and allows waste to remain part of a natural life cycle. Composting refers to the controlled decomposition of plants, eggshells, and biodegradable paper in the presence of oxygen and humidity. It can be done either chemically by bacteria or physically by worms, ants, snails, and other generous creatures. In vermicomposting, for instance, you have various species of worms that decompose organic matter into nutrient-rich fertilizer called vermicast. The beauty of composting is that it's done locally and can occur on different scales. At your home, school, office, in your neighborhood. You can easily install a composting bin under the kitchen sink and then deposit it regularly on a collective composting site, such as one of these beautiful composting facilities. Composting is a wonderful way of restoring dignity to the raw materials of our lives, and a rare opportunity to witness the transformation of waste into an upcycled product. With composting, one literally gets to see cherry tomatoes blossom out of the rubbish. This makes composting a powerful pedagogical tool. Composting can produce large volumes of nutrient-rich and water-retaining soil that can then be used to grow food in urban farms, underground, above ground, and on building rooftops. Composting allows us to reconnect with the soil and the environment in urban settings where the earth may feel out of reach. It can also inspire us to improve our consumer habits by opting for package-free products that we know are compostable. Composting can be an energy source thanks to the bacteria that naturally heat it up to 71 degrees Celsius. As early as 1973, bioenergy pioneer Jean Pain imagined a water heating system powered by compost. Human composting, then, offers us an ultimate way of redefining resilience in waste. It is currently illegal in Sweden and 7 US states, and lets humans give back to the earth, literally. The way I like to think about it is this: when I grow up, I want to be a tree. When I die, I want to become a forest. And then finally, together, composting and anaerobic digestion could significantly reduce food waste in a world where 1/3 of all food produced is either lost or wasted. But let us come back to our kitchens for a moment. Organic waste accounts for nearly half of household waste today, yet a mere 5.5% of food and green waste is composted. Imagine what it might mean if we could change our relationship to this rich resource. Tomorrow, many of our products could be designed with a return to the earth mindset. Compostable dishes, clothing, shoes, diapers, furniture, face masks, balloons, and chewing gum already exist, but have yet to become mainstream. Composting can not only reduce significantly the volume of our household waste, it also has the potential of shifting other categories of waste. Think about it. Fewer general bin collection rounds would mean fewer open dumps, landfills, and incineration sites. Some of them may even disappear. Air and water pollution would decrease, and everyone will be healthier as a result. Why not imagine a future where not only everyone will be composting, but we would also be sorting compostable material to mass produce innovative bioproducts such as lemon peel bioplastics, or mushroom leather, or corn fabric. By reducing and bringing waste back home, by ceasing to push it out of sight, we could be investing our lives in a more sustainable future. As long as the accumulation of waste is an acceptable phenomenon, our lives will likewise be wasteful. Instead of wasting our resources, we could be ensuring their circularity. Remember, the notion of waste is subjective and fairly recent. We can undo it and follow to nature's wise understanding of how things should work. There is no such thing as waste in nature. So if we are to redefine waste and resilience in times of climate change, war, natural and unnatural disasters, let it be this: living our lives to the fullest, in an environment that feels like home, anywhere in the world, waste-free, and investing our lives in planting a forest by returning to the earth anything we can. If we waste nothing at home, we will no longer be able to tolerate wasting human lives in war either. No one and nothing will be disposable anymore. So next time you eat an apple, I hope you choose to put it where it belongs, in the earth, the only place where a better future can grow. Thank you.